Hey guys, so for today's video, I'm going to be doing the eyeshadow palette tag round 2 video that was created by Ali Glines and Samantha March. So they created the eyeshadow palette tag video about 2 years ago now, and I did that video for you guys. And it was so much fun to do, just to go through all your eyeshadow palettes and answer all these questions. So Ali and Samantha partnered up together again to do round 2 of this, so I thought I'd join in on the tag and talk about my eyeshadow palette some more. If you want to see the first video that I did with this tag, I'll leave it down below for you. I'm also going to leave all the questions down below too if you want to join in on this tag. It's kind of fun. I don't normally do tag videos, but I am an eyeshadow channel, so I'll do an eyeshadow palette tag. It's fun. I also do have a full video on this eyeshadow look. I'm not sure if that video is going up before or after this one, but it was a fun, like, recreating my followers' eyeshadow look video. So if you do want to see how I got this eye look, that video will already be up or up very, very soon. But anyways, let's jump into these questions. So the first question is, what is your all-time favorite palette? And I know we're starting out this way, but this question stumped me the most. You guys know I do eyeshadow tutorials for YouTube. Like, that's literally all I do. And so when I'm wearing makeup, it's usually for filming. So I don't really do my makeup on days I'm not filming. But if I do, it's usually some kind of like very, very natural eyeshadow look. I'm trying to say it's hard for me to pick a favorite palette because I'm not always grabbing the same palette, because I'm always grabbing different palettes to film with, you know? But I decided to pick a palette that I do use a lot when I am creating just kind of like my everyday look, and that is the ColourPop Bare Necessities palette. I don't think I've really talked about this palette a lot on my channel. I might have a few videos with it, but this is just such a good everyday neutral palette. You have so many beautiful colors in here to play with. It is leaned a little bit more on the neutral warm tone side, but that's what I like to wear because I have blue eyes. The shimmers in here are beautiful. The mattes are perfect and blendable, like it's ColourPop. We know ColourPop is very inexpensive, but very good quality shadows. So as of right now, I would say this is my all-time favorite palette. All right, then the next question is, what is your new favorite palette? And for this, it was another tricky one for me, but I picked two, but they're kind of the same, but kind of not. It's the Natasha Denona Glam Face Palettes. These palettes are just freaking beautiful. I really think that Natasha's formula is the best in these palettes, like compared to her other ones. Like, oh, it's just amazing. I love the blush. I love the highlighters you get in here. And I really do like both palettes, whether I want something a little lighter or a little deeper, or even kind of mix the two together. But I do keep these on my desk front and center, so I have access to them at all times. The next question is, which palette do you keep for the memories? I literally have like a whole cupboard of palettes that is dedicated to palettes that I don't use anymore, but I have to keep because I literally just can't get rid of them. So I thought a fun one to pick would be the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. When I see this palette, when I smell this palette, I'm just brought back to the days where I used to work at Ulta. I started at Ulta when I was 18 and I worked in color. I worked the register. I eventually moved into operations. And then after that, I worked at Sephora for a few years. So just being in like the beauty retail industry is what this palette reminds me of. Like at Ulta, I would go to brand training, so you'd have these like Too Faced representatives sharing all these products and all this product knowledge, and it was just so fun. And I never had like the Too Faced chocolate bar palettes. I think this was one of my first Too Faced palettes, and the smell is amazing. And it tastes like peach too. Yes, I have licked this palette before. So this is a palette I will probably never use again, but I don't think I'll get rid of it. And then next is an underrated eyeshadow palette, and for that I picked the Dominique Cosmetics Transition palette. I think this launched last year or the year before, but I really haven't seen many people talk about this. But what I love about this is that it's just a good matte palette to have, and they kind of designed this palette to be used for multiple things, not just eyeshadow. So like these shades right here, kind of those four, are really good blush colors. These could be good contour colors. You have shades that could work on your eyebrows over here, something a little more gray. You got your blending shades. Like, this is just a good palette to have, and I don't see many people talking about it. And Dominique Cosmetics does make really good eyeshadow, so if you need a good matte palette, this one's great. All right, so next is a palette that is not a favorite, but you can't get rid of. I have a lot of palettes in that category too, but I picked the ABH Norvina Collection Pro Pigment Volume 3 palette. I think I did like 1 or 2 videos with this palette, and like, I love the look of this palette and how like just bright and crazy it is, but it is really hard to create a look with this palette. It's just, like, this is literally my job, and I find this is like a struggle for me. And I think they created like maybe 4 or 5 of these Pro Pigment palettes, and after I had this one, I was like, I don't think I can do it again. Like, the purple one's really pretty, but it's just a little too much for me. I also don't remember if I liked the formula or not. Pressed pigments are tricky to work with, so I kind of think I didn't like the formula. I just feel like this palette fits perfectly under not a favorite, but I won't get rid of it. It's ABH Norvina. It's beautiful. It's butterflies. I love butterflies, but yeah, I don't like it. All right, next question is, what is your favorite collab palette? And if you watch my channel, we could probably all say this together. The Anastasia and Jackie Aina palette. I freaking love this thing to death. This is easily one of my favorite palettes ever. I think it was my favorite palette of 2020. I did a video about that. I think Allie said this was her favorite collab palette too. Like, it's just perfect in every way. Jackie did such a good job at picking these colors and how these colors can work on such a wide range of skin tones, eye colors, skill levels. I seriously just love this, and looking at this palette just brings me joy. I just love the mix of like pinky, red, purple, but you got some beautiful warm tone neutrals there. This kind of green color, this gold color, like it's just such a good mixture. And I truly feel like this palette did not get the love it deserved. I think, was it right after this one launched? I think the Amrezy palette launched. Something like that. But they like really marketed the palette that came after the Jackie Aina palette, where this should have been like the main focus of Anastasia. It's amazing, and I'm so sad that it was limited edition, but if you have it, cherish it forever. I love it. Okay, next is your favorite palette of 2021, and I did do a video on this. I like to do kind of a yearly favorites, and for me, that was the Sigma and Cinderella palette. I'm also gonna include this in the next category tag, which is a palette that you didn't expect to love, because this fits in both categories for me. So at first, I didn't think I would like this palette just because it was like a Disney collab. I don't understand those like brand collabs with Disney, and I don't know, I just don't get it, right? So like when I first saw this palette launch like on Trendmood on Sigma's website, I was like, it looks cool, whatever. But when I first used it, I was like, oh, this is kind of amazing. I've said this in plenty of other videos where I use this palette, but I love the colors in here and how they're kind of more muted. Like, they're not very bright in your face colors. You have kind of muted blues and greens in here. Like, maybe this was the brightest color, you know? You have soft purples, a pop of gold, but then I also love the first couple shades in this palette, how it's like a beautiful neutral look with this shade all over the lid. Ugh, stunning. So this was easily my favorite palette of 2021 and a palette I didn't expect to love. All right, next is a palette that sparks joy. Kind of a tricky category as well, but for that I picked the Kathleen Lights and ColourPop So Jaded palette. I just love these kind of like jewel tone colors, and when I open this palette, my eye automatically goes to this shade right here. I am wearing some of this palette for this look today. It's just so pretty and kind of different, and I feel like a lot of the palettes that ColourPop makes now are like kind of repeats of this palette. And I also feel like if it wasn't for the Jackie Aina palette, this would be like my favorite collab palette. Like, I always kind of forget that Kathleen Lights did this, but she fucking crushed this palette. It is so beautiful. You have neutrals, colors, kind of muted colors. I just love it. All right, we're almost done. The second to last question is, what is the newest palette in your collection? And for me, that is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. I literally just bought this last week, and I just uploaded my first tutorial with it the other day. I honestly didn't think I was gonna buy this palette because I do feel like it looks kind of similar to if you were to like mix Naughty Nude with Nude Nude with Mercury Retrograde. I feel like this would be like the love child, but I literally just bought this because I wanted something new to play with. So I have only used it once, but I'm definitely going to do some more looks with it. But yeah, this is the newest palette in my collection that I bought myself. And then the last question is, what is the first palette that you used in 2022? And for me, that is the Dominique Cosmetics Amor y Mariposas eyeshadow palette. I've done a couple videos with this palette now. I just love the shades in here, especially like these bottom two rows of just these warm colors. The little pops of green are super pretty up top. This palette is super pigmented though, because it is a pressed pigment palette, so you kind of have to like work with the shades a bit to make it work, but it looks amazing. And I just love the butterflies, it's super cute. And that was all the questions for the eyeshadow palette tag round 2. Let me know what you guys thought of my answers. I would also love to know your answers as well. Thank you again to Allie and Samantha for making this tag. It's always fun just to kind of go through my palettes and like reminisce a little bit. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.